Hey, it's Dominique from Blogging in My Undies, and today I wanted to talk about bedtime. Uh, Bedtime routines for the V-Man and our other kids as well. It can be pretty hectic, especially if they don't want to go to sleep. And of course, that's typical for any household with children. But with the V-Man, we have to be very particular about what we do. We shut everything down electronically and put away all the games and toys at 7 o'clock in the evening. So if the younger two are still high strung and high energy, they can stay awake and read books. They can read books or they can play very, very quietly. The V-Man, on the other hand, has an internal clock that is very specific, so we have to be very careful and with respecting his internal clock and making sure he doesn't go overboard or going past his time for going to bed, his scheduling that he's built up and gotten used to because of our routine. So, for example, 7 o'clock, everything goes off, and then the V-Man goes in for a diaper change. He gets his hands and face washed, and then his teeth brushed, and then put on his pajamas, and then he heads to the bedroom. But before he goes to bed, he gets the most beautiful thing in the world, 2 milligrams of melatonin. These are chewable and dissolvable tablets that we can get over the counter, so no prescription at the pharmacy. I once made the mistake of buying him these ones. Same thing, but they're not chewable or dissolvable. They're very small and tiny little things. And I only bought this one because it said 100 tablets in it. But he doesn't like the taste of them. Apparently they taste different and they're disgusting. So these are only for emergency if we run out of the nicer, chewable, dissolvable ones. So he gets 2 milligrams of melatonin as prescribed by the doctor. And from there he goes to bed. And the husband will stay with the V-Man until he falls asleep. Something about the V-Man compared to our other two kids, or any neurotypical child for the most part, he doesn't like stuffed toys. Very rarely will he ask for a stuffed toy or bring something to bed with him. He used to fall asleep on the sofa prior to us discovering melatonin and his diagnosis. And with that, it was very frustrating because, when the kids go to bed, that's me and hubby time. That's our time to watch TV shows or movies that we definitely can't watch in front of the kids because of the violence or the action, or it would keep them awake or give them nightmares, whichever. So it was quite frustrating for a while, and then we just decided to give up with the V-Man between the ages of 3 and 4. So we would watch, NCIS and what have you, and just keep the volume on low and put subtitles until he fell asleep. And that was the only way we got to have any time together, because the V-Man was constantly awake and on the sofa. But now that he's had tube surgery twice to help with the ear infections and prevention of them, he's been able to sleep very, very well. As long as M-Girl and A-Man don't wake up or cause a fuss, he can sleep. It's really wonderful. It's taken us 5 years, but he can finally sleep in his own bed in his own room. Because when he was a newborn, or when he was a baby, up until he was about 1 year or so, because it was very common to co-sleep in Finland, that's what we did. We co-slept not just because we wanted to, but also as a safety measure, because one time he woke up, I took him out of his crib, I went to put him back, and I almost dropped him out of sheer, exhaustion. So for safety's sake, we just kept him in the bed between us, and it was fine. So he goes to bed after having the melatonin, and we have to be very careful. So it's about 7:30 by the time he gets the melatonin and he gets settled in his bed. He doesn't like to have songs. He doesn't like us reading to him. So it's pretty straightforward. The husband sits at the foot of the bed until he falls asleep. It used to take over an hour, hour and a half to get him to sleep. It was very tiring just sitting there and waiting and practically holding our breath because he was so sensitive to any sound we made. And sneaking out of the room got us like ninja level 5,000. Because if we stepped on a crack, if we stepped on a crumb, he heard it and he would be awake, and then we were in big trouble. But now, thanks to melatonin, it makes it a little bit easier. But we have about a 30-minute window for him to take the melatonin and then fall asleep. So if he goes past that 30-minute window of being awake after taking the melatonin, we're in trouble. It means he will not sleep and he'll come out on the sofa and fall asleep here. Because it was ruined usually because maybe the dog jumped off the bed and he has claws and we don't have carpeted floors, so made some noise. But it's usually from the little ones, making noise and playing and stuff, even though they should be quietly reading or what have you after 7 o'clock. So what we used to do before melatonin was the alphabet game, or at least I used to. So I was getting pretty tired of just sitting there not doing anything, and I would say, what starts with the letter A? And I would just list every word that started with whatever alphabet I was on for as long as possible before switching to the next alphabet. And I would also ensure that I said it in a fairly monotone voice, because if I said it too happily, he would be very curious and wouldn't go to sleep. So, and I also tried to group words together that were similar in category, and that way it created a kind of rhythm for him. So for example, what starts with the letter B? Baseball, basketball, badminton, bowling. Blue, black, brown, bronze. And I would just keep going and going and going. And it took me up until about letter M or N with at least 20 words per letter before he would fall asleep. So I resort to that whenever he's a bit high-strung, and I've also used it on A-Man and M-Girl as well. With A-Man it's a bit trickier because he will repeat the word, and it therefore keeps him awake. But if I try and keep it as simple as I can, and as boring as I possibly can as well, he usually goes to sleep all right. And he doesn't question what every single word is. By letter B, he's usually out like a light. So, yeah, for the most part, they all sleep well in their own room. They share a room, and in their own beds, which is really nice. And some funny things that I thought about. When the V-Man was younger, I have photos. He used to fall asleep with the weirdest things, because he went through phases, and there were some things that were super important for him, whether it be the texture, the sound, the comfort. But you can judge for yourself what you think is comforting. A pop bottle, an empty pop bottle, a Listerine bottle. Mouthwash bottles are awesome because the cap is child-proof, child-safe-proof, so he could never open it. So I used to fill them with beads or sand or rice, dried rice, whatever, and that was really nice for him. He went to bed a few times with a cup, a rubber boot, like an adult's rubber boot. I think once or twice with a stuffed animal, and we thought that was weird. So it's up to him what he wants to take to bed with him. I mean, he has no favorite stuffed animal or favorite thing. Lately, he hasn't taken anything to bed to sleep with him. To sleep to bed with him. Oh, you know what I'm trying to say. Anyway, so that's pretty much our bedtime routine. It's gotten a lot easier. It took us 5 years to get here, to the point where I can actually talk at a regular volume, whereas before, whenever we wanted to watch TV, we had to drop it down to a whisper and just read the subtitles while watching TV because it had to be that quiet for him. Anyway, I hope something in here helped or was useful for you. If you like what you're watching, please do subscribe, and thank you so much. Have a great day. Bye-bye.